you think about unsolved true crime, I mean, there are a few names that just, they echo with this kind of terror and, honestly, sheer audacity. The Zodiac Killer is right at the top of that list.
Oh, absolutely.
This wasn't just a serial murderer stalking Northern California in the late 60s and early 70s. This was a showman, someone who really understood the power of the media.
That communication element is precisely what sets him apart. It really is. He wasn't just satisfied with the act of murder. He had to have the credit. He wanted to control the narrative.
He used the media as his stage.
Exactly.
And that's our mission today. We're going to do a deep dive straight into the source material and just outline the confirmed facts of the Zodiac's reign of terror. We're talking victims, methods, the letters, and the latest, often controversial claims about his codes.
And we should be really clear on that. Based on the facts, from law enforcement, we're focusing on 4 major confirmed attacks. That's 5 people killed, 2 injured.
Right. Across Benicia, Vallejo, Napa, and San Francisco.
But the Zodiac himself claimed 37. So from the very beginning, he's just creating this stream of misdirection and false leads.
Okay, so let's unpack this timeline. We have to start at the beginning of those dark, isolated spots outside Vallejo, the lovers' lanes.
The first confirmed one is December 20th, 1968, Lake Herman Road. The victims were high school kids, David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16.
And this was their first date, wasn't it?
It was reportedly their very first date. Just a chilling, horrible scene.
So they're parked. It's completely dark outside of the city. It sounds like a total ambush.
It was. An assailant's car drives up, blocks their exit. The investigation suggests he might have fired shots into the car to, force them out. When Faraday gets out of the passenger side, he's shot, point blank, in the head.
And Betty Lou Jensen tried to run for it.
She did. In complete darkness, he chased her down and shot her 5 times in the back. The whole thing was just ruthlessly efficient. 2, maybe 3 minutes, max.
And for the police, the initial evidence, it was next to nothing, right? Which really points to the killer's planning, even at this early stage.
Exactly. No usable footprints, no clear tire tracks, and crucially, no apparent motive. It wasn't robbery, it wasn't sexual assault. Police were left with this terrifying reality that this was just a cold-blooded killing for the sake of killing.
And then, less than 7 months later, he strikes again, July 4th, 1969.
Just 2 miles from the first scene. Blue Rock Springs Park, another lover's lane.
But this time, the M.O. and even the weapon, it changes right away.
Right. The victims this time are Darlene Ferrin, who was 22, and 19-year-old Michael Mageau. And this is Key Mageau survived.
So we finally get an eyewitness.
A huge break. And he tells police they'd noticed this light-colored car following them. It parked nearby, then tore away, only to come back 5 minutes later.
That return, it feels really calculated, like he was checking to make sure there were no other witnesses.
It seems that way. And when he came back, the MO is different. He shines a flashlight into their car and just opens fire. But this time with a 9mm pistol, not a .22.
Darlene Ferrin died at the hospital. But this is where the communication, the ego, it just explodes onto the scene.
Explodes is the right word. I mean, just 40 minutes after Ferrin was pronounced dead, a call comes in to the Vallejo police.
From a payphone that was, 2 blocks from their headquarters?
2 blocks. It's an incredible taunt. The caller, who we now know is the Zodiac, confesses to both Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs. This isn't panic. This is pure dominance.
And Mageau's description gave the killer his first public face. Heavy-set white male, about 5'8", curly light brown hair.
Exactly. And that phone call was just the beginning. By the end of July, early August, the letters start arriving.
To the San Francisco Chronicle, the Examiner, the Vallejo Times. This is where he officially becomes the Zodiac.
And introduces that infamous signature.
The crosshairs. I think we need to talk about that for a second. Because making a signature, creating this whole persona, it goes so far beyond just the act of killing. Why do that?
It's his unique calling card. It's what defines his entire fantasy. The symbol itself, that circle with a cross, it suggests a hunter looking down a gun sight. It has links to astrology. He sees himself as this controller of destiny.
And in that very first letter, he includes his longest cipher, the Z408, and threatens a killing rampage if the papers don't publish it.
Yeah, he essentially forces the media to become his mouthpiece. It was huge, 408 characters sent in 3 parts.
And what's remarkable is that the police, the FBI, they couldn't crack it.
They couldn't, but an amateur couple did. A schoolteacher and his wife, Donald and Betty Harden, they solved it in a week.
That must have been a massive humiliation for law enforcement. How did they do it?
They used a common technique called a crib. You guess a likely phrase. And given the killer's ego, they guessed words like I and killing. Once you get a few letters right, the whole thing can start to fall into place.
And the decoded message was, well, it was bizarre.
It established his whole motive, that he enjoys killing because man is the most dangerous animal of all, that he's collecting slaves for his afterlife in paradise.
And crucially, he lies. He says right at the end, I will not give you my name.
Right, so he's setting the pattern. He'll boast, he'll hint, but he will always misdirect.
So the first two attacks are with a gun, targeting couples in these isolated spots. Then he escalates dramatically. Lake Berryessa, September 27th, 1969. This was not just a murder. This was theater.
It was a massive psychological shift, just pure showmanship and rage. The victims were college students, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, just having a picnic.
And he approaches them in that bizarre costume.
Wearing an executioner's hood, black cloth, with the crosshair symbol on his chest. He has a gun, but he doesn't use it to kill them. He ties them up with clothesline and then switches to a knife.
He stabs Hartnell 7 times.
Yeah.
Shepard. The attack on her was even more vicious.
The overkill on the female victim is a key insight. It suggests this really intense personal anger directed at women, but the performance wasn't over.
No. After the attack, he uses a pen to write on Hartnell's car door.
Yeah, he lists the dates of all 3 attacks and then signs off by knife. He's basically signing his artwork.
And then takes another huge risk.
A massive risk. He drives 27 miles to a payphone in Napa, calls the police, confesses to the double murder, and then just leaves the phone receiver dangling.
Which is where police got a partial palm print, right?
The first piece of real physical evidence linking him to the aftermath of a crime.
So we've gone from this dark, anonymous ambush to this theatrical display in broad daylight.
Right.
And then just 2 weeks later, he moves to an even bigger stage.
San Francisco, October 11, 1969. He murders a cab driver, Paul Stein, in Presidio Heights. A huge shift. Urban setting, male victim, back to a firearm.
And the aftermath of this one leads to one of the most devastating police errors in the whole case.
It really is. The killer spends minutes in the cab wiping it down, but he does leave partial fingerprints. 3 teenagers across the street see him get out and walk away. They call the police immediately.
And the mistake.
The initial police dispatch, it mistakenly describes the suspect as a black male adult, not a white male.
Oh, wow.
So 2 patrol officers in the area see a white man walking away from the scene. They question him briefly, but they're looking for a black suspect, so they let him go.
They let the Zodiac Killer go.
That error gave him his window to escape, and of course 3 days later, he proves it was him by mailing a piece of Stein's bloodied shirt to the Chronicle, just rubbing it in their faces.
So by late 69, the confirmed attacks stop. But the psychological war, that's just getting started with the codes. And that brings us to the Z340.
Right, the Z340 cipher arrives in November 1969, and unlike the first one, this one was a monster. It remained unsolved for 51 years.
51 years. But we do have a modern breakthrough here. It was finally cracked in December of 2020.
By another amateur team, an international one this time. David Orenchak, Sam Blake, Jarl Van Eyck.
In the content, did it reveal anything new?
Not really. It mostly reinforced his established motives. He denied being a caller on some TV show. He went on again about collecting slaves for paradise and said he wasn't afraid of death. It just confirmed his persona.
But the violence hadn't completely stopped. In March of 1970, we get the abduction of Kathleen Johns.
And this is one of the most terrifying accounts in the whole case. She was 22, 7 months pregnant, driving with her baby. A man pulls her over, says her wheel is loose. He pretends to fix it.
But he actually loosened it so it would fall off.
Exactly. The whole thing was a setup. He offers her a ride, but then drives past all the gas stations. For 2 or 3 hours, he just drives her around on these deserted roads, threatening her.
And he says that, quote, when I get through with them, they don't need any help. It's so chilling because it connects directly back to his victims.
It does. But John saw a chance when he stopped on a highway on-ramp. She jumped out with her baby and hid in a ditch. He searched for her with a flashlight, but eventually gave up and fled.
And then he went back to her car.
He did. Fixed the wheel, drove it a mile away, and set the interior on fire, trying to destroy any evidence. And crucially, Johns later identified him from a wanted poster as the Zodiac.
Which brings us to the final 2 well-known ciphers, the short ones, Z13 and Z32.
Z13 is the most tantalizing. It comes after the words, My name is just 13 characters.
Then he already lied about giving his name, so we can't really trust whatever it says.
Exactly, and it's so short you can't statistically validate any solution. You can force almost any name to fit. One popular theory is that it's a joke, like Alfred E. Newman.
In the map code, Z32, that showed a new level of sophistication.
It came with a map of Mont Diablo and a clue about using radians and inches along the radians. And he specifically said to set the compass to magnetic north, not true north.
That detail about magnetic north suggests he had some kind of specialized knowledge. Surveying, navigation, military training, something.
It definitely confirms that intellectual ego he was always projecting.
Okay, we have to address the recent controversial claim from that French engineer, Fakel Ziraoui.
Right. Zero claimed to have solved Z13 as K, which is close to a known suspect, Lawrence K. And he says he solved Z32, and the coordinates point to a school in South Lake Tahoe, which connects to the school bus threat.
But the crypto community is very skeptical.
Very. It comes down to validation. A cipher that short can have hundreds of solutions. Matching a loose result like K to a suspect you already have in mind is just confirmation bias. It's not proof.
So when you pull back and look at this whole thing, you have these incredible acts of violence right alongside this intellectual, ego-driven game he's playing in the mail.
And what stands out is his psychological profile. He's so adaptable, guns, then knives, changing victim types. He's intensely egotistical. The overkill on women points to this profound anger. There's even a letter to the lawyer Melvin Belly where he sounds like he's pleading for help, which suggests some kind of inner struggle.
It's just a mystery of contradictions, isn't it? The intellectual showman and the chaotic sadist.
He was. The Zodiac was an organized killer. He planned attacks, he chose his hunting grounds, he designed these complex ciphers, but he often acted like a disorganized killer, leaving traceable letters, partial fingerprints, and relying entirely on police making a mistake, like with the Stein murder, to get away.
Which leaves us with the final question.
Yeah, and it's something for you to think about. Was the Zodiac's occasional sloppiness intentional, just another way to prolong the game he so clearly loved? Or was he truly split between the calculated genius he pretended to be and the chaotic, compulsive killer who just couldn't stop?